Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're zeroing in on something really critical for all you safety professionals, risk managers, well, anyone serious about safety knowledge.
That's right.
We're tackling OSHA's working surfaces standard, specifically fall protection, ladders, platforms, the real nitty-gritty. And this deep dive is brought to you by Safety One Source.
Exactly. And to get this right, we're not just guessing. We're looking at official OSHA letters, the interpretations, the standards themselves.
Straight from the source.
Getting the agency's thinking directly.
So our mission today, let's unpack the key bits about fall protection. Fixed ladders, those mobile ladder stands you see, and of course, guardrails, all based on what OSHA actually says.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Fixed ladders.
Yeah, let's start there. Fixed ladders, big topic.
Okay, so OSHA in 1910.28b9 sets a pretty clear date, November 19, 2018.
Right.
Any fixed ladder installed on or after that date, if it goes higher than 24 feet above the lower level, it absolutely needs a personal fall arrest system or a ladder safety system.
Okay, 24 feet is the magic number there for new installs. Makes sense? Higher climb, bigger risks.
Definitely.
But what about ladders under 24 feet? Are they just, okay, no system needed?
Well, not always. OSHA clarified this back in 2021. It's not just about the ladder's physical length in isolation.
Ah, okay. How so?
Think about a shorter ladder, maybe 20 feet, but you access it from, say, a high platform.
Right.
If you could fall past that platform and the total fall distance to the next lower level is more than 24 feet.
Then the system is required, even for the short ladder.
Precisely. It's the potential overall fall distance that matters, the severity.
That's a crucial distinction. So a ladder's location, the context really matters. Now, what about cages? We see those on ladders sometimes. Can a cage count as fall protection in that scenario? The short ladder accessed from height?
Yes, but with conditions.
Yeah.
For that specific case, ladder 24 feet or less, access from up high, potential fall over 24 feet past the platform. OSHA says a cage can be used. But, and this is key, the cage has to be designed to basically channel a falling worker onto the platform.
Ah, so it limits the fall, directs them to the platform.
Exactly. It contains the fall, keeping it at or below that 24-foot threshold.
Interesting. So it's a physical control for the fall path. Now, something we always drill into people, 3 points of contact. Essential for climbing safely, right?
Absolutely essential. 1 hand, 2 feet, or 2 hands, 1 foot. Always maintain it. Don't carry stuff that throws you off balance.
But does maintaining 3 points of contact count as the required fall protection system on these ladders?
No. OSHA is very clear on this. 3 points of contact is fundamental safe climbing practice. It is not a substitute for a required personal fall arrest system or ladder safety system.
Right. Good clarification. Safe practice versus engineered control. Okay, for us safety pros putting this into action, how do we measure the ladder height? Where does the measurement start and stop?
Good question. You measure from the ground, or whatever the lower level is, all the way up to the very top of the ladder, where it meets the landing or the top rung. It doesn't matter if the first rung is a few feet off the ground. It's the total vertical span.
Got it. Total vertical distance covered. What if we have, say, sections of ladders, like a 20-foot ladder, then a platform, then another 20-foot ladder? Do we look at that as a combined 40-foot height for fall protection?
Generally, yes. You'd have to consider that.
Yeah.
If a worker could fall past that intermediate platform,
Right.
and the total potential fall to a lower level is over 24 feet, and there's no cage designed specifically to dump them onto that platform.
Then a system is needed for the whole climb.
Correct. The potential fall path connects those sections, effectively combining the height in terms of risk.
So the platform really has to be a proper break in the fall path.
Exactly. Now, there is an exception OSHA mentions for offset fixed ladders. If the total height is 24 feet or less,
Okay.
and you have proper resting platforms at each offset, meeting size rules with guardrails, and a cage to guide someone onto the platform if they fall.
Then maybe you don't need the full system on each section.
Potentially, yes. The setup itself, the offset, the guarded platform, the cage, is designed to limit any fall to that shorter segment. The conditions are pretty specific, though.
That sounds like a very engineered solution. So we keep mentioning personal fall arrest systems.
Yeah.
On a fixed ladder, what does that actually look like in practice?
Okay, so a personal fall arrest system, or PFAS, is the whole setup. You've got the full body harness the worker wears,
Right.
a secure anchor point or points on or near the ladder, and then the connecting device. That could be a lanyard, maybe a self-retracting lifeline, or a rope grab system.
So like double lanyards, maybe clipping on and off as you climb.
That's a common method, yeah.
Yeah.
Using double lanyards attached to the harness, connecting to suitable anchor points along the ladder, But, and OSHA stressed this in a 2017 letter, all the components have to meet the specs in 1910.140, meaning minimum braking strengths for lanyards, proper anchorage strength. You can't just clip any old lanyard onto any rung. It has to be a compliant engineered system.
Gotcha. It's a system, not just pieces. Now, there was a specific point about outdoor advertising workers.
Yes, a 2017 letter mentioned this. For employers in outdoor advertising, if employees are climbing older fixed ladders installed before that November 2018 date, ladders that don't yet have fall protection.
Which isn't allowed for new ladders, we established that.
Correct. For those older ladders, the employer has to ensure the climbers are physically capable and properly trained in safe climbing. But, and this is important, the ultimate goal is for all fixed ladders to have proper fall protection systems eventually. This is more of a transitional thing.
Right, phasing it in. Okay, that covers fixed ladders well. Let's switch gears. Mobile ladder stand platforms, super common. What are the key things safety folks need to know?
Right. A 2024 letter gave some great clarification, actually. It was about accessing CNC machine tables, about 40 inches high.
Okay.
So specific requirements came up. First, the steps. Minimum width 16 inches. Rise no more than 10 inches. Depth at least 7 inches.
Very precise.
And the slope, this is important for stability, the step stringer slope can't be more than 60 degrees from the horizontal.
Okay, specific dimensions for safe use. What about landings? You know how stairways need that 30-inch deep landing? Does that apply here?
Good question. No, it doesn't. That 30-inch landing rule is specifically for stairways under 1910.25. It does not apply to mobile ladder stand platforms.
That's a helpful clarification. Save some confusion. Okay, guardrails on these mobile platforms. I assume the rules change based on how high the platform is.
They do, exactly. It's tiered. If the platform is less than 4 feet high, no top rail or mid rail is required.
Okay.
To be 4 feet and 10 feet high. You need handrails at least 36 inches high and mid rails, but just in the platform area itself.
All right.
And then if that platform is above 10 feet, you need full guardrails and toe boards on all the exposed sides and ends. Maximum protection for higher work.
Makes sense. Higher you go, more protection needed. And the strength of those top rails, same as other guardrails.
Yes. That standard 200-pound requirement applies. The top rail on a mobile ladder stand platform has to withstand 200 pounds of force, downward or outward, applied near the top edge without failing.
Okay, that 200 pounds seems like a benchmark. Let's talk more broadly about guardrail systems then, the general rules.
Sure. A fundamental point first. From 1910.29a, all fall protection, including guardrails, has to be installed before work starts. You need it in place before the hazard exposure.
Absolutely. Protection first. Now, the dimensions. What are the critical numbers for standard guardrails?
Okay, top rail height, nominal 42 inches. The rule says between 39 and 45 inches above the walking working surface.
That plus 9 is 3 inches.
Right. Though OSHA does say it can be higher than 45 inches if all the other criteria are met. Then mid-rails. You need a mid-rail if there isn't a wall or parapet at least 21 inches high.
Okay, where does the mid-rail go?
Midway between the top rail and the walking surface. Or instead of mid-rail, you could use screens, mesh, or intermediate vertical members like balusters. But if you use vertical members, they can't be spaced more than 19 inches apart. Basically, any opening below the top rail can't be wider than 19 inches. Prevent someone slipping through.
Right, closing those gaps. And strength. We know top rails are 200 pounds. What about mid-rails?
Mid-rails, or those other intermediate members, need to withstand 150 pounds of force, downward or outward.
Okay, 150 for mid-rails.
And there's a deflection limit, too. When you apply that 200-pound force to the top rail, it shouldn't bend down below 39 inches from the walking surface. Needs to stay protective under load.
So strong and stiff enough? What about how they're built? Surface finish, materials?
Good points. Surfaces have to be smooth, prevent cuts, scrapes, snag, and close.
Makes sense.
The ends of the rails shouldn't stick out past the posts usually, avoid projection hazards.
Sure.
And, really important, no steel or plastic banding allowed for top or mid rails. Not reliable enough.
Okay, definitely no banding.
And the rails themselves need a minimum diameter or thickness of 1/4 inch, 0.25 inches, for strength and durability.
Got it. Practical stuff. Now, specific spots, like hoist areas or holes in the floor. Any special guardrail rules there?
Yes, definitely. Hoist areas. When you're not actively hoisting, you need removable guardrail section, top and mid-rail, across the opening. Or a chain or gate that provides equivalent safety.
Okay. And holes.
Guardrails around holes need to be on all unprotected sides. If you need to pass materials through, you can only remove 2 sides at a time. And when it's not in use, guard it or cover it properly.
And covers need to be strong, right?
Very. Support twice the expected load. Secured down.
Okay. What about access points through guardrails, like for a ladder?
It needs a self-closing gate that meets the guardrail specs, or an offset design so you can't just walk straight into the hole.
Right. And ramps and runways?
Guardrails on every unprotected side or edge. Pretty straightforward there.
Okay. One last detail on guardrails. What if rope is used? Is that okay?
It can be used, manila or synthetic rope, but it needs frequent inspection. You have to make sure it still meets those strength requirements, 200 pounds for top rail, 150 for mid rail. Rope degrades, so you got to check it often.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, moving on. Stair rail systems and handrails. There's this distinction based on installation date, right? Before or after January 2017.
Yes, at a really crucial point, especially for facilities folks. A 2019 OSHA memo clarified enforcement here.
So what's the difference?
For stair rail systems put in before January 17, 2017, the top rail can also serve as the handrail, provided it's between 36 and 38 inches high and meets other handrail rules, like being graspable.
Okay, the combined system was okay back then.
Right. But for systems installed on or after that date, January 17, 2017, you need separate components. The top rail has to be at least 42 inches high, and you need a separate handrail between 30 and 38 inches high.
So newer systems need both a higher top rail for guarding and a lower handrail for gripping.
Exactly. Reflects an updated view on the best heights for each function.
Now, what if a company installed a system after that 2017 date, but they use the older 36 to 38 inch combined height? Are they getting cited?
The memo addressed that too. OSHA said, for those specific cases installed after the date but meeting the older spec, they would not issue citations until the agency clarifies its intent further, probably through a formal notice.
Okay, so some enforcement discretion there, some breathing room for folks who acted in good faith, maybe.
Seems that way. It avoids potentially large retrofitting costs for systems that still offer a decent level of safety, pending further clarification.
Good to know. Okay, before we wrap this up, the standard covers more than just ladders, platforms, and guardrails, right?
Yeah.
There are other fall protection methods. Can we quickly list some?
Sure. There are safety net systems they have to meet all the rules in the construction standard, subpart M, designated areas. Using warning lines set back a specific distance from edges to keep people away.
Right.
Covers for holes we mentioned strength, twice the load, secure down. Handrails and stair rail systems themselves have detailed specs. Height, clearance, smoothness, openings, graspability, no projections, strength.
Lots of detail there.
Then for fixed ladders, besides the PFAS or ladder safety systems, you have requirements for cages, wells, and platforms if they're used design, access, containment size. Ladder safety systems, the ones that arrest falls, have rules about allowing two-handed climbing, connection length, mounting, strength testing.
Okay.
Personal fall protection systems, generally harnesses, lanyards, anchors, all have to meet Section 1910.140.
Got it.
Protection from falling objects, toe boards, height, clearance, strength, screens, canopies.
Important too.
And finally, grab handles for stability need specific length, clearance, and strength. So yeah, it's a comprehensive standard.
It really covers a lot of ground. Okay, as we finish this deep dive, what's the main thing you want our listeners, the safety pros, the risk managers, to take away about all this OSHA guidance?
I think the biggest thing is just how crucial it is to really know the specific requirements for the different situations in your workplace. It's not one size fits all.
Right.
The 24-foot rule for fixed ladders, how it applies with platforms, the different guardrail heights for mobile stands, the stair rail installation dates. These details matter. OSHA set these criteria for a reason, to prevent falls.
And compliance isn't just about avoiding a fine, is it?
Not at all. It's fundamental to protecting your people, keeping them safe. That's the bottom line.
And like we said at the start, everything we talked about is based on OSHA's own words, the standards, the interpretations. So we really encourage you, go check the official OSHA website, look at the regulations themselves, keep current.
Absolutely. And maybe that leads to a final thought for you, the listener, particularly if you're in a safety leadership role.
Okay.
How does really digging into these details, these seemingly small points about fall protection, how does that deeper understanding actually help build a stronger safety culture in your organization? How does it translate into fewer incidents? Think about specific examples at your own workplace. Where could knowing these rules better make a real difference?
That's a great question to reflect on. How the details drive the bigger picture of safety culture.
Excellent point. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive, brought to you by Safety One Source.
Glad to be here.
Until next time, keep digging into the details, and above all, stay safe out there.